if you're considering a shift to your organization's culture, I think the first thing you have to think about is why. It, is this something that needs to be done because it's trendy? Obviously, in what's going on in 2020, there have been a lot of social causes, political issues that have come up, particularly in the States. And some companies have decided to just be responsive through cultural shift initiatives. And yet, what we've found is that some of these organizations have really just utilized it more as a PR component, a marketing component, and not really about shifting culture. So, if you're going to keep something in mind, ask that question: why are we doing this? Why is it necessary? And then look at the reasons why that get listed, and ask more than just one stakeholder. You need to talk to a bunch of people. How are we doing? What would you say people describe our organization as? Where does that come from? If those answers are unattractive, unappealing, and quite frankly, in your opinion, non-representative of what the organization's about, then it's time to look at the culture. Why do we have that messaging going out? Why do our people internally feel the way they do about the organization? Time to look to make a change. Yeah, I think that shift is really going to be apparent when you might look at some, let's say, metrics to start with: retention rates, promotion rates, length of tenure for your employees. Is it too long? If so, and too long is relative, right? But in the sense of, is it difficult to move this boulder uphill because everyone has sort of worked together for such a long period of time, it's really difficult to enact change. If you see those things being true, then it may be time to have a conversation around, again, who are we? Does our organization, is it branded internally as effectively as it needs to be externally? And that brand has to be authentic. So I'm not just going to pitch a different message internally because it's convenient, it sounds like we're doing the right thing. No, no, no. It has to be something that you do internally so that you can make an effective movement towards something that will last, that's healthy, that is responsive to the world around it. Whether that be the way in which products are made or services are delivered, it will matter. Because your staff are going to rally around what it is that you're living. And if that culture is not affected by that, then really folks are just coming to perform a job, very little consideration about a career, and almost no consideration around the individual impact that each employee makes on the ultimate goal. Those are the things you need to look at. First thing is, not every culture has to change, at least all the time. If you're an organization that is constantly reinventing itself, constantly giving its people different messaging, then your cultural communication component, as an example, is going to be fractured. People aren't sure aren't going to be sure as to what matters. And so what they communicate with one another varies. They're not sure what messaging makes sense this month. And they're not sure even on the organizational structure. Who do I report to? For what pieces? I thought this was now our primary objective. It sounds like we're back to this one. There's a lot of confusion. And culturally, that will cause, again, fracture very easily. What I would also say, though, is that some cultures need to change because they have found themselves to be victims of a trendy premise. So, for example, there are organizations that started out delivering a product or service, but made a commitment to say 10% of everything we raise is going towards this particular charity. And when they started out, that movement was of appeal to people, to the customer base that had an image of what the culture must be like of that organization to be so philanthropic. And then internally, those that you would attract to come to the organization could rally behind that cause because they liked the fact that we were being supportive of a particular nonprofit or some sort of social responsibility call. Well, that only lasts so long if there's not meat behind it around the product or service being delivered. And the culture that started out so empathetically moved is going to wane. It will not last because they don't see a vision for the future. They understand that you may write a check every month to support that, but is there something more? And quite frankly, what some of those companies have realized is that their revenue is down, and so the check that they're writing is even less. So it's time then, I think, to look at your culture, again, both internally first and then externally, what's the projection there? Culture is a really novel idea when you sit around and talk about it on whiteboards, make notes on paper. Culture is your people. And I think that what organizations have to be more willing to do is get up from, your virtual desk and engage with folks. Get up from your supervisory area and walk the line as best as you can and engage with folks. Find out what's going on. You want to know what the heartbeat is? You got to go to the heart, and that's your people. This is John Baldino, President of Humareso.